Tonight, exposing potential cracks in the Canadian dream. The troubling brain drain of Canada's best and brightest immigrants.
I get overlooked for like a lot of roles, for like the minus reason as possible.
Plus, growing fears over the so-called golden years for retirees. Donald Trump's explosive outburst.
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter.
And what survivors are saying with the Epstein files on the brink of release. And popping the hood on a pervasive problem.
I went out of the house and the car that is normally there was gone.
What tops the list of most stolen cars in Canada?
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. A candid new pulse check of Canada's future tonight from the very people who choose to make this country their home. Retirees growing increasingly anxious about their financial burdens as they age. And a fresh look at how Canada is losing highly skilled immigrants who are now choosing to leave. And that is where we begin tonight with CTV's Judy Trin.
I'm a Canadian citizen, so it's just like it doesn't matter sometimes.
Ankit Mishra immigrated from India in 2006. He has 2 master's degrees and expertise in AI. He's bilingual, yet the trained economist is not getting opportunities in Canada, so he's looking overseas.
I get overlooked for like a lot of roles, for like the minus reason as possible. For example, fluency in French isn't native enough.
Canada's most capable immigrants are in fact most likely to leave.
A new study by the Institute for Canadian Citizenship analyzed 40 years of immigration data and found that 1 out of 5 permanent residents leaves Canada within 25 years. Those with a doctorate leave at twice the rate of someone with a bachelor's degree. They're also more likely to move sooner.
The 5-year departure rate for immigrant healthcare workers is 36%. That's the same for scientists. The 5-year departure rate for experienced executives is 193% above average.
By 2031, the Institute projects that more than 20,000 immigrants will leave Canada. Human resource professionals say the government is good at recruiting, but needs to develop policies to retain highly skilled immigrants and do better at recognizing the value of their foreign work credentials.
The main thing is just really giving people that sense of inclusion, that sense of belonging, that sense that they can contribute their, bring all the whole assets, knowledge, skills, and experience they have.
The federal government plans to reduce its immigration levels over the next 3 years in the middle of a trade war. Experts say that will further cut into the international talent pool needed to grow Canada's economy. Omar.
All right, Judy, thank you. There are also worries for those who can't move or don't want to. Seniors who should be enjoying retirement, but a new snapshot reveals many are instead stressed about basic living expenses. Here's CTV's Heather Wright.
The number of people living past 100 has more than doubled in the last 25 years. And for some, retirement is starting earlier and lasting longer, forcing tough financial decisions.
I think in the economy today, people have to keep working.
According to a survey from Manulife, 42% of respondents say they are worried about paying for basic expenses in retirement. That's up from 28% in 2020. 43% are worried about health care costs in retirement, an increase from 31% 5 years ago. And nearly half say their retirement savings are behind schedule.
That concern around day-to-day expenses, this is something that is a concern for pre-retirees and everybody. So it's not surprising to me that that would also be a concern going into retirement.
While the number of people retiring early is increasing, it's not always by choice. According to Manulife, only 15% of those who retired early did so because they had saved enough money. 33% retired due to their health, while 13% retired to care for a loved one, which is why experts say planning for various scenarios is key.
Disability is a reality as you get older, and especially amongst seniors. It's just really critical that we're planning for that.
Fiona Cassidy is among the 15% who retired early by choice. She says having a plan is key, and so is starting early.
Getting the benefits of accrued interest is, that's a smart way to do it.
Experts say another factor to consider when retirement planning is inflation. And while it dipped slightly to 2.2% last month, the cost of living is still putting a squeeze on those on a fixed income. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Much of Canada's future prosperity hinges on shoring up domestic capabilities, but also deepening and developing relationships with non-U.S. trading partners. The Prime Minister's goal as he begins another international trip. CTV's Rachel Aiello on where he is headed.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is embarking on a nearly week-long trip to the United Arab Emirates and South Africa. And he's hoping to return with stronger diplomatic ties, as well as new trade and investment agreements. Visiting two of the world's largest emerging markets, Carney is hoping to attract capital to Canada to help build major infrastructure projects and fuel this country's energy, defense, and technology sectors. The Prime Minister's first stop will be in Abu Dhabi. There, he will meet with the President of the UAE. It will be the first visit from a Canadian Prime Minister since 1983, when Pierre Trudeau went and brought a then young Justin Trudeau with him. The Prime Minister will also meet with heads of major investment funds and deliver a keynote speech to a business crowd. Carney will then travel to Johannesburg on Friday. While there, Carney will meet with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and senior officials say they're hopeful the two countries can come away with an agreement to boost bilateral trade. But the main event will be the G20 Leader Summit taking place this weekend for the first time on the African continent. On the sidelines of the summit, Carney is set to hold a series of bilateral meetings. And while his office won't yet say which world leaders he may be sitting down with, we know U.S. President Donald Trump won't be one of them, as the Americans are boycotting the G20. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
And Donald Trump bristled at questions about the Epstein files today. After mounting pressure, the U.S. president says he now supports the release of those files, which appears imminent as the House voted overwhelmingly in favor and the Senate indicated it would do the same. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malvin on what the moment means for survivors.
I was a child. I was in 9th grade. I was hopeful for life.
They were all hopeful once, holding up photos of themselves as young girls.
That's how old we were when we were abused by Epstein and Maxwell.
Fighting for decades to be heard and believed together, their voices have become powerful.
We were victimized as children and failed repeatedly by the very system that was supposed to protect us.
The president's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has haunted Donald Trump. Trump's name mentioned in hundreds of Epstein's personal emails. There's no suggestion of wrongdoing, but after months of resistance, a dramatic about-face from this president. No longer opposed, the House vote went ahead.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1.
In a rare show of bipartisan unity, almost every Republican voted to release the Justice Department records, investigations that could expose the rich and powerful who abused hundreds of young girls.
There's becoming a reckoning in Britain that needs to happen in the United States. A prince lost his title. We need to see those same kind of consequences here.
It's a remarkable political moment for a president facing pressure and mass defections from his own MAGA supporters.
He called me a traitor for standing with these women. Watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart.
President Trump has the power to release these records, but lashed out when asked why he doesn't do it now.
We just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax.
Tonight, the Senate swiftly agreed to pass the Epstein bill, sending the measure to the president's desk, who said he would sign it into law, starting a 30-day clock to release the files. Omar?
All right, Joy Malvin in Washington, where there was a warm welcome at the White House today for Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with Trump lashing out at a reporter who asked about U.S. intelligence linking the prince to the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Trump's remarks run counter to U.S. intelligence officials who say the prince likely approved Khashoggi's murder inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. Back here at home, the Swedish royal family is in Canada for a rare 3-day state visit, joined by business and political leaders from their country. Sweden's national anthem played as King Carl Gustaf XVI and Queen Sylvia were welcomed at Rideau Hall and then met with the Prime Minister on Parliament Hill. The campaign for Canada to buy military aircraft from Swedish company Saab is in full force as ads went up in downtown Ottawa today.
It would mean Canadian jobs in Canada. It would be a Swedish fighter jet, world class, but it would be a true partnership.
CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin has been tracking the story from Sweden, as well as keeping an eye on the competition.
This one, it's a Gripen E.
On a tarmac in Sweden, Saab showed off the fighter jet it hopes Canada will buy.
So it's really state-of-the-art systems packed in here.
Part of the company's sales pitch is that the Gripen is perfectly suited to protect the Arctic.
What we designed the system for is actually to be able to withstand the extreme max in terms of cold, so minus 40, minus 45. We should be able to land on a road on a full packed with ice, be able to turn around in 10 minutes.
As the battle of the fighter jets revved up, Saab also suggested Gripens could be assembled on Canadian soil, creating, it says, 10,000 manufacturing and research jobs. But some Canadian contractors say a deal with Saab could also cost jobs. L3 Harris in Quebec is aiming to set up a maintenance hub for the F-35.
Here we're talking about preserving the jobs of 1,600 Canadians today, the creation of an additional 5,000 jobs for the F-35.
In 2023, Canada agreed to buy 16 stealth fighters built by U.S.-based Lockheed Martin, with an option to scale up to 88. But Ottawa is reviewing the deal in the middle of a trade war. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly said today Gripen's job offer is interesting.
I don't believe that we've had enough jobs created and industrial benefits done out of the F-35.
But Lockheed Martin says about 30 Canadian companies are currently involved in the F-35 supply chain, and that it expects to produce over $15.5 billion in industrial value for Canada, with projects since 2007 and spanning through 2058. Analysts say Canada faces a tough choice.
There's a lot of value to the F-35 contract, as the armed forces have said in the past. It is a fully integrated aircraft. It's the most advanced fighter that we have in the Western world. The question you have to ask yourself is that aircraft overkill for Canada?
This is how you refuel an aircraft.
Saab hopes an assembled in Canada Gripen will fly.
I mean, there's no secret. Canada has a very skilled workforce.
For Canada, it's a high-stakes decision, and the results will be measured in years to come. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Stockholm.
A joint statement was signed in Washington today to help Canada build new icebreakers in collaboration with the United States and Finland.
We feel like we're making very important progress since the Trump administration came into office. As the Secretary says, any fentanyl is too much, but we're doing our very best to use both of our abilities, both of our capabilities to protect both of our countries.
The so-called Ice Pact will pool resources to build fleets of icebreakers to help with navigation and security in the Arctic. After Monday's nail-biting confidence vote, the minority Liberal government faced another crucial test today in Ottawa. Here's CTV's senior political correspondent Michael Couture.
I declare the motion carried on division.
Another day, another confidence vote that the Liberals survive.
No, it was going to be one a day for a long time.
Behind the sarcasm is some truth about votes to come. Yesterday's budget vote only passed because a number of opposition MPs abstained.
We hope that opposition parties will continue to dialogue constructively with us about how we can potentially make those things better.
But the Bloc Québécois is promising a rough ride.
Because at each step of this long process, including the committee, they will have to start all over again because they were not good partners for anybody.
Some opposition MPs said they reluctantly voted to pass the budget instead of plunging the country into a Christmas election.
Maybe 6 of one, half a dozen the other, but the country's got to change direction.
There will be other confidence votes as the budget works its way through the implementation process. And one NDP MP who abstained yesterday says his support isn't guaranteed.
Absolutely confident that I'll be holding this government to account, and we'll be fighting hard for everyday people.
And the Prime Minister says his budget is for those same people who need social programs like childcare, dental care, and pharmacare.
I salute the 170 members of the House who supported it. I'm glad it came through, and we're going to continue to work on implementing it.
With the Prime Minister leaving the country and because of how close last night's vote was, it's unlikely the Liberals will test the confidence of the House until Mark Carney gets back next week. Omar?
All right, Mike, thank you. The Alberta government has invoked the notwithstanding clause to prevent legal challenges to 3 laws impacting transgender and gender diverse people.
This government does not turn to the notwithstanding clause unless the stakes warrant it. And in this case, the stakes could not be higher.
Alberta's premier says the health of some children could be affected if the laws are tied up in court. The laws put restrictions on student pronoun changes, on girls' and women's sports, and on medical therapies for young people looking to transition. 2 of the 3 bills are facing court challenges, with advocates saying the bills are harmful.
Every time this premier talks about these bills, there's a spike in hate crimes. We have seen a massive spike in hate crimes at the university alone, and that this is more people are going to get hurt, more people are going to die.
And political history was made in Nunavut today. John Mayne was selected as the territory's next premier. The 3-term MLA previously served as health minister and will become Nunavut's first non-Inuk leader, though he speaks fluent Inuktitut. Coming up.
It came down to life or limbs.
How a rare infection led to a critical decision for doctors. Plus, which vehicles are the most stolen in Canada? An Alberta woman is sharing her harrowing story of survival after contracting a rare infection that forced doctors to make an unthinkable choice. CTV's Kathy Lee on her message to others.
This is called a universal cuff.
A simple task most take for granted. Now, a symbol of Jane Haley's fight to reclaim her life after a rare infection not only took her hands,
It's like I got a text message,
but also her feet. The life-changing event started on August 24th when she experienced some neck pain.
the left side of my chest started hurting.
The 41-year-old went to the ER where her condition rapidly worsened. She ended up in a medically induced coma for 8 days. But when she woke up, her nightmare was far from over.
My hands were turning a different color. They were turning black.
Invasive Group A strep sent Haley's body into septic toxic shock, forcing doctors to make an unthinkable choice.
It came down to life or limbs, and they chose life, and I'm very grateful for that.
Group A strep often causes mild illnesses, but if it hits the bloodstream, it can lead to sepsis and even death. National data shows invasive Group A strep infections increasing over the last decade, with the highest totals in 2023 and 2024.
This is a global phenomenon that we're seeing these types of infections. People say, well, what could I have done to prevent it? And there really isn't much.
For Haley, there's still no clear source of her infection.
I had no idea that I was sick. I would just want people to know your body and listen to it.
The focus now, redefining her independence. And by her side, her mother, a constant source of strength. Together, they navigate this new reality.
I see a future where I will be back to normal. I do.
With courage and grace. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Edmonton.
Incredible courage. Still ahead. How a plane full of passengers survived this violent crash landing. A terrifying moment for passengers on a plane in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This video from inside the cabin shows the plane preparing to land before a violent hard landing. The plane skidded off the runway and caught fire, forcing passengers to jump off the burning jet. No one was injured and no word yet on what caused the crash. A new list out today points to the top targets for car thieves. The RAV4 was the most stolen car in Canada, followed by the Dodge Ram 1500 series, the Honda CR-V, the Ford F-150 series, and the Honda Civic. 2020 or newer models were particularly targeted among these vehicles. Despite a drop, auto theft continues to cost Canadians more than $1 billion in insurance claims each year.
We're not out of the woods yet, but definitely continuing doing what we're doing and combating this vehicle crime to make Canadians safe.
And the chief financial officer for Canada Post says the company is effectively insolvent after it posted sharp losses of more than $1 billion in the first 9 months of this year alone. The Crown Corporation says it expects to lose up to 30,000 employees to retirement or voluntary departures over the next decade. It says declines in letter mail and labor disputes have put a strain on business. And still ahead, a celebration in Saskatchewan as the Grey Cup is welcomed back by a sea of green. Lululemon has revealed its Team Canada designs for the next Winter Olympic Games in Milan and Cortina in Italy. The collection features an array of puffy parkas, snow pants, hats, and scarves in dark reds, cool greens, and a swirling pattern, drawing inspiration from the Canadian landscape. And speaking of inspiration, the Saskatchewan Roughriders brought the Grey Cup home to Regina for the first time in 12 years today. CTV's Alison Bamford now on the jubilation in Rider Nation.
Cheers, smiles, and celebration. A moment not seen since the Roughriders last won the Grey Cup in 2013. And one these fans didn't want to miss.
12 years is quite a long time to go without a Grey Cup.
Thousands lined the streets to catch a glimpse of a winning team and the trophy back on Saskatchewan soil once again.
I just feel like the cup always belongs here.
Some skipped work, others cut class.
To get autographs and stuff, just happy.
This couple drove 2 hours to be here, wanting to celebrate a win for the province at a time when they say the community needed a reason to unite.
I think Saskatchewan people are the most proudest people in the country, and I think it'll just bring us all together.
The fanfare culminated on the steps of the Legislative Building.
This is unbelievable.
The team hoisting the cup over top a sea of green, giving Rider Nation and Saskatchewan something to cheer about.
It's nice to celebrate something, especially after the disappointing Blue Jays.
Rider fans have lived through their own fair share of disappointment. This is just the team's 5th Grey Cup win in over 100 years.
It's been a long time coming.
But they say that's what makes days like this even sweeter.
One more year.
Alison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
They deserve the party. That's a snapshot of this Tuesday. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.